welcome to NTU. I think for those of you who have chosen to spend your Friday evening attending this lecture, I think I can assure you that you will not be disappointed. We have lined up a fantastic professor plus a couple of very outstanding panelists to be discussing with you, so I think you will not be disappointed. NTU has been doing very well in many areas in teaching research, and we want to do a bit more in terms of engaging the public as well as NTU community. So one of the initiatives that we have is this Did You Know talk series. So every month we will invite one of our top professors to talk about his or her own research area. And in so doing, we hope that Singaporeans and people like you are able to appreciate research and its benefits. And I hope you can actually get something out of this. Now, in terms of today's lecture, it'll be a little bit different from the past. First of all, our professor will give his presentation for about 20-25 minutes or maybe 30 minutes, followed by two panelists. They also give their presentation for about 20 minutes each. And then we have a short panel discussion followed by Q&A. So there's a flow. And to kickstart the whole process, let me first of all introduce the speaker. His name is Professor Vijay Sethi. Wave your hand. So Professor Vijay Sethi is Professor of Nanyang Business School's Department of Information Technology and Operations Management and Director of International Business Competitions. Has a chemical engineering degree from Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, as well as a PhD in Business Administration from University of Pittsburgh, USA. He was assistant professor at the State University of New York, and of course, later on, a tenure associate professor at the University of Oklahoma, I beg your pardon. Dr. Sethi specializes in e-commerce, IT entrepreneurship, strategic information system planning, IT productivity and knowledge management, focusing on digital disruptions, economics of technology, social media and networks, data analytics, legal and IP-related issues, and new technology evolution patterns. Many, many areas. His research is internationally recognized and published in top IT journals. He consults for Singapore companies and executive education programs. Many new internet business ideas he mentored have won accolades in competitions like Asia Mood Corp, Bangkok Business Challenge, Global Mood Corp, and Venture Capital Investment Competition. He has won a number of teaching awards, including EMBA, Teacher of the Year, MBA, Teacher of the Year, Teacher of the Division, NTU's Nanyang Award for Excellence in Teaching, and more importantly, in 2013, he awarded the World Best Business Professor by the Economic Intelligence Unit. I was told he won himself quite a big sum of money. Not too sure it's true or not. He can share with you later. Anyway, we have the best business professor in the world on this campus. So I think you are very fortunate to have a chance to listen to him. So without further ado, I would like to invite him to start the speech on the looming battle in e-commerce, online or offline. Professor Sethi, please.
Folks, good evening. Every time I hear that introduction, I feel very intimidated. Next time I have to cut it down. Much of what we do and what we achieve is because of our students, many of who are here. They are the ones who keep on motivating you. They are the ones who drive you. And that's what keeps us going. Yeah. So thank you very much, all of you, for coming here and for spending this Friday evening. Yeah. This entire atmosphere is very formal. This is a Friday evening. You got to be relaxing a little bit more. It ought to be a little bit more fun here. And that's what we'll try and do as we go along in this particular discussion. I'm also grateful to the panelists who are here. I said, I'm not going to talk for 2 hours. I can't bear to listen to myself for 2 hours. And I don't expect you to be able to listen to me for 2 hours or so. So I said, we need some panelists, some real experts on this particular forum who can share some insights into what they are actually doing. We only study. These are the guys who are actually doing all this particular stuff. Yeah? Before I get started, here's something which I always say, and I mean it in the class or here, which is this. We know what we know. But there are many, many things which we will never know, and that's an advantage of a gathering such as this one. If we put all our brains together and share all our thoughts, all of us will leave this particular place in the next 2 hours a whole lot richer. And that's why you are here. There are many things you have to share. So we'll go along in that particular fashion. We'll share some thoughts. You share the things that you know, and overall, we'll all pool our knowledge and hopefully learn a little bit more about this particular field. So what I'm going to do is to share some thoughts with you over the next 20, 25 minutes or whatever it takes, I do not know. And then after that, we'll have other panelists talking about their own particular businesses, and then we'll pull some thoughts together. When I had put this talk together, the title was this particular one, The Looming Battle in E-commerce. So we'll be talking about online, offline, and what's happening here, et cetera, et cetera. But, that's like a real intimidating thing. Battle here, battle there. The real way I want to position this particular one is to say, hey, look, lots of things are happening in this space, and things are changing. Let's try and understand this particular field. Yeah, nobody knows what's going to happen in the future, but at least we can try and understand some trends and become more knowledgeable about these particular things. So I thought the real way I want to talk about this particular issue is something like this. Yeah, I found this particular title somewhere. This is an actual old song. There are many people my generation here. You'll be able to relate to this. If I show this to my MBA students, they say, Prof, what age are you? This is like an old song, which was a Bob Dylan song. Yeah, I don't know how many people know Bob Dylan. Yeah, so that's our generation here. And he wrote a song, the title of which was this particular one, which is Times They Are A-Changing. So I thought that's what this field is all about. Times are indeed changing. And there's an irony in this because Bob Dylan himself won a Nobel Prize in Literature. Who would have thought that he'd win a prize in literature? Times are really changing. Yeah. The real reason for this particular discussion is because, a few things caught my eye. Over the course of a year, whatever we do, we read some things, many things are along the lines of what we expect. Few things catch your eye, and then you start to wonder, is that for real or not? And platforms like this give us a chance to almost crystallize our thoughts and perhaps pay more attention to them. And one of them was this particular little statistics and graph, which is this one here. This was a graph thrown somewhere, and I started to look at it closely. It basically talks about 3 retail environments and 3 retail stores and e-tail stores. One of them is a Walmart. The other one is Target, both in the US, and then, of course, Amazon. And what is this saying here? The share prices over the last 12 months for these 3 companies. Yeah? Walmart has been up about 14%. Target has been up 13%. Amazon has been up 6%. I said, this doesn't look right. I looked at it 5 times. I almost inverted the graph. Maybe it'll sound right now. It's usually the other way around. It's Amazon which absolutely shoots through the roof. And I said, this does not sound right, but it was. That's what's happened over the last 12 months or so, or the last year or so. Many things in the offline scene seem to be happening that at least I wasn't aware of. And I thought this is worth looking at. Because historically what happens is something like this. Historically, over the last 5 years, you can see this particular graph. This is Amazon absolutely growing through the roof. Its growth rate in its own particular stock price has been something like 360%, and everybody else is sitting here at about 50% or something. That seems more regular. Then I said, this is something a little bit different, and maybe there is something going on here which I'm not aware of. So I started to look a little bit more closely. So then I came across some pictures, basically said, look, this is what a store looks like. And I said, let's take a look. This is what the pictures were. This is what a retail store is. This one. I said, oh, this is an interesting store. I haven't seen one like this particular one here. Then it has this one. This is a physical store, looks like this. And then there's another one, which basically the same store, which basically does this, that this is a robotic arm, which is scanning all the product items to find out what's going to be finishing, because things finish so far in this particular store, it's not adequate and it's not sufficient. You cannot have humans doing something like this. I said, what store is this, which has transformed so much that I'm not even aware of this particular one? Some of you might be able to guess. This is Walmart. I said, Walmart, this is not the Walmart that I knew many, many years ago, even today. Here's Walmart completely transforming itself, all these things that you can do at this particular store. And once I read a little bit more, here's what it says about Walmart and what it has been doing, which is this one. The clever way Walmart is trying to beat an Amazon. I said, wow, this is good. This is interesting. How can Walmart fight back? What does it have which Amazon doesn't have? It has one single fact. It has one characteristic, which is this particular one here. Goes like this. 90% of people live within 10 miles of a Walmart store. No matter where you are, there's a Walmart right next to you. Oh, I said, is that an advantage? That's what this company is trying to do. It says, look, I don't have to build a physical infrastructure like Amazon does. This already exists. All I have to do is to leverage it more. What have they done in the past? You go to a store, you shop. Now what are they doing with that particular store? You can still do the same thing, but you can also pick up stuff at this particular store. Not only that, here are some details of what these guys are doing. These stores are now doubling up as warehouses for online shoppers. Right? You want to shop, you want to buy something, you go online, and what's the warehouse? It's the store itself. You pick it up, somebody will pick it up for you, and you can go and then get it picked up from there. And because of that, the inventory finishes so fast. That's why you have the robotic arm constantly scanning, because you can replenish these particular shelves that you have. Yeah? And they said Target is also trying to do the same thing. But no other retailer has Walmart scale. And another comment, it says the greatest part about Walmart is that Walmart stores are already profitable. See, if you build fulfillment centers, these are huge capital investments you're going to be making. How do you run at a scale where it's going to be running profitably? For these guys, they're already profitable. Each store is already profitable. Now you do more with this particular one. It says now, if we deploy inventory 5 miles away from 70% of the people who live, imagine the advantage. You go, you get the advantage of both the worlds. Yeah? You can shop at the store, but then you might say the selection is limited. Well, it's not, that's true. But you can shop online somewhere, online Walmart, but you can pick it up at the store. So you get the selection, but you also get this physical pickup. You go do it on that particular pace. You can look at the product, you can experience it, you can return it right there. So there might be something going on here, which is a different model when existing stores become adept in this particular area. And that's what Walmart has been doing. Yeah, I said, okay, let me go a little bit further. What about other stores? And the other store was, I showed you, but I wouldn't have picked it, but it kept on coming up in many of the things. Yeah? So then I came across this list. It says, the world's 50 most innovative companies. I said, oh, okay. Which might be the most innovative companies? We all have our usual expectations about companies. We thought all the tech companies and all these guys are going to come up. Yeah, none of them were there on that particular list. There were some interesting ones. I'll show you this particular list. Many probably are not going to be familiar to you. They weren't familiar to me. Then I started to learn about these particular ones. It's this list here. I'm very sure the first one is familiar to you. This one here is a Chinese company. Then it goes on. This is Grab. We know that it goes on and on. All these particular ones, many of them. But many of the usual suspects are not here. There's no Amazon. There's no this. There's nothing here. I said, wow. The one I was most interested in, what I wanted to study, showed up here again, and I never would have expected it to show up on this particular list, which is this one, which is the Target store. I said, oh, Target as a retail store has shown up here again. What makes them so innovative? Because it's a small store, it's a smaller retail chain. What are they doing, which is going to be so interesting? How are they fighting back? Why are people going to a Target store? Why aren't they going and shopping at Amazon in this particular country? Then look deeper. This is what's happening with this particular store here. And here's a headline. It says the 11th ranked most innovative company is Target, and the subtitle says, for incubating cult brands in-house. Oh, okay. So what are you doing? We are now creating our own particular brands, right? See, if you want to fight the major online retailers, what do they sell? What do they sell as somebody else's inventory? If I have my own inventory, which is unique, in that particular case, these are my own brands exclusive, then people are going to be coming there. In that particular case, that can drive footfalls and visitors to these particular stores. Okay, I said, how are these guys doing something like this? Boy, I was surprised. It says, here's how Target's design lab in Minneapolis created $6 billion brands, and there are more on the way. This is what's called private labels. They create their own particular brands. These are only brands available at that particular store or on their online store. You will not get them anywhere else, and these are becoming more and more popular. That wasn't the case earlier. And all of a sudden, this particular store has become tremendously, at least it's on the way to becoming a lot more unique than it was. So I said, okay, here's another strategy. One is to look at your stores as warehouses, leverage them. These guys are saying build our own particular brands. Yeah? So we create something which is going to be unique. In that particular case, we can fight against everybody else. Yeah? But there are other things that this particular store is doing. Yeah? Then I came across this one. I said, okay, what does the younger generation prefer? Every time the issue of age comes up, we become very sensitive. I'm very sensitive. Yeah, so people say, what generation, what millennials, this, that, I don't know what they are. Yeah, but that must be an interesting group, I don't know, it doesn't apply. So it says, what makes Target so popular amongst Gen Z? First I had to Google, what the heck is Gen Z? You know, there's supposed to be a Gen Y, now there's a Generation Z. Yeah, what's a Generation Z? Somewhere, folks, these little kids born between 1995 and 2010, etc., etc. It says here, what makes Target so popular? These guys love Target. The younger generation, they want to go to this particular store. I thought that was the store of our people. We go there, do something, only old retired people in the afternoon shopping away somewhere. Yeah, these guys love. It's not the same store that at least I knew, whatever, this generation see. And a comment, it's actually a tweet by somebody, one of the folks, just posted. He says, that's why this generation likes Target because of the following. And here's a comment, basically said, no one goes to Target because they need something. You go to Target and let Target tell you what you need. Let's go there. Target will tell you. You wanted to buy one bottle of shampoo, you walk away with $98 worth of stuff you didn't even know what you need. I said, they're that good? See, this is not what we associate with traditional stores. We associate these kinds of things with online companies. They will tell you, people who bought this, you recommend this, etc., etc. That we already know. These guys are now doing something which is very, very similar. People will go, you can actually browse around. These guys will find all the stuff for you. So that was a little bit fascinating that if these stores are also doing something like this, maybe the tide is turning a little bit. And we have actual evidence that that's what's happening here. The other thing which Target which is doing, which also caught my eye, is a 2-sentence comment here. I'll let you read the comment and then we'll talk about this. Go something like this. So one kid telling his dad, Dad, you know why Toys R Us went out of business? Because Target only has 4 toy aisles, but it's all the good stuff. Which means what? What are they competing on? Selection? The good stuff. You can have 20 aisles. I have 4 of the high quality good stuff. Right? It's about selecting the stuff. If I put it more academically, yeah, just to make it a little bit, that we are very good at, which is the following. See, when you look at online stores, let's take an Amazon. What does Amazon say? The world's biggest online store. Absolutely. Yeah, you can't beat them with an online bigger store. What's the opposite of biggest or having the biggest selection? If I use a certain term, that particular term, the opposite of very wide selection is curation. I curate stuff. You have the widest selection. I take the selected and the best stuff. I offer you the best of everything that you want to buy in any category that you want it to. So that's how these guys are doing. I curate all the stuff. I find the stuff for you, which is the really useful stuff, something that you would find, something that you would like. Here's a definition, is some description of curation, which I found, which is this. This is an important book. It says this is a fresh take on the 21st century, so on and so forth. It says, there is no longer any competitive advantage in creating more. Today, value lies in curation, selecting, finding, and cutting down to show what really matters. It's not about the 20 aisles of stores. It's about the 4 aisles having the kind of toys which the kids really want. That's curation. Where did I find this description? Only one site has this kind of a description, which is Amazon. So Amazon provides the recipe for its own particular failure. You read about curation on Amazon, you apply it, and then you kill Amazon. I said, no, this is a nice irony here. Yeah, so at least that's another strategy you can use, which is curation in addition to your own particular private labels, selected stuff, because ultimately that's what we want. Give us too much of choice, we do not know what to do with it. Yeah, so these were 2 examples which caught my eye a little bit. Then I said, maybe there's a glimmer of hope for existing stores. Maybe these things will, this will apply, they will do well, and this is the way they will carry on. Okay? And then, of course, Target has this very dubious distinction. Everybody knows this story. I almost debated whether to have put this one or no. An article came out a few years ago. It says how companies learn your secrets, and it's only about Target, Target, Target. So what does it tell you here? Here is the other headline associated with this particular story, and it goes like this. How Target figured out a teen girl was pregnant before her father did. Yeah, this is absolutely true. It's an amazing article that you read. What does this company do? It's all about analytics. They look at the data, they see what people buy, they start to make some judgments about what they might need in the future. There's a certain point which is made there, which basically says this. He says, what are human beings? We are creatures of habit. We are creatures of habit. Whatever we do, we'll continue to do it. We only break out of our habit when something significant happens in our lives. One of those significant moments might be for a woman is when she's going to be giving birth, when she becomes a mother. That's the time to catch her, and she can change her behavior. You can sell her a different shampoo, whatever it is you want to do, but you must figure out before anybody else. They hired a bunch of PhD guys, analytics. They said, whatever people buy, figure out how do we know that some particular person is pregnant, etc., etc. And here's a comment from that particular article, which says here the following. This is what Target found. Take a fictional Target shopper named Jenny, who's 23, lives in Atlanta, and in March bought cocoa butter lotion, a purse large enough to double up as a diaper bag, zinc and magnesium supplements, and a bright blue rug. Just this. There's an 87% chance that she's pregnant and that her delivery date is in late August. That's what Target does. So this story here, based upon whatever data that they have, they send some coupons over to this girl's house about diapers, baby, something, something, etc., etc. The dad comes storming into the store and says, how dare you, my daughter's 17-year-old, how dare you send her all these particular coupons? The manager said, I am really sorry, some PhD guy who doesn't know what he's doing, he sent this particular stuff, I really apologize. Yeah, so he went back. 3 weeks later, the dad comes back and said, I am sorry, you knew something that I did not know about my own household. See, again, this should not surprise us to some extent. Companies collect a lot of data. There have been a lot of scandals on that. But this is what we associate with online companies, just because of the data. These are traditional companies doing many of these things and doing it really, really well to catch people so that they can make them avid shoppers and have brand loyalty. This was a little bit unexpected. So if offline companies can do something like this, they are learning, perhaps, they are on their road to perhaps doing better things. So these were the 2 things about Walmart and Target here. And then, of course, I looked at this company. I have to. Is Amazon doing something? I said, look, these stores, is Amazon opening stores? We all know Amazon is opening stores, right? Okay, here's this one. I'll show you this particular video. I have some nice videos. If we have the time, I'll continue to show you those. This is Amazon's store, which they have opened up, and it's called Amazon Go.
ago, we started to wonder, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go? What if we could weave the most advanced machine learning, computer vision, and AI into the very fabric of a store so you never have to wait in line? No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Amazon Go. Use the Amazon Go app to enter. Then put away your phone and start shopping. It's really that simple. Take whatever you like. Anything you pick up is automatically added to your virtual cart. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. Our technology will update your virtual cart automatically. So, how does it work? We used computer vision, deep learning algorithms, and sensor fusion, much like you'd find in self-driving cars. We call it Just Walk Out technology. Once you've got everything you want, you can just go. When you leave, our Just Walk Out technology adds up your virtual cart and charges your Amazon account. Your receipt is sent straight to the app, and you can keep going. Amazon Go. No lines, no checkout. No, seriously.
I said, this is impressive indeed. Just check out and go. At least stores do exist. They exist in a different form. There aren't any cashiers. You just do these things. And we see versions of that in many different stores. You can do many of these different things. They've taken it to the next level. Yeah. So then I came across something else. Here's another store. It says, well, we can do something a little bit better. Let me show you this.
Over 10 years ago, we were wondering, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go? What if we could bring together technology and advanced customer service so you never have to wait in line? No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Monoprix Livraison à Domicile Plus. You don't need an app to go shopping. So put away your phone and shop. It's really that simple. Everything you pick up, you add to your basket, like usual. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. But to be honest, we don't see many people putting back our cupcakes. So how does it work? We had a vision. We learned about our customers' needs and combined those learnings with Monoprix DNA. We call it human technology. Once you've got everything you want, just go. We'll put your groceries through the checkout and deliver them to your door only 1 hour later. Monoprix Livraison à Domicile Plus. No lines, no checkout, no groceries to carry, no extra charges. No, seriously.
Right? If you can do this, I can do this better. And this is a French supermarket. It's a store that's been doing it for 10 years. Why do you even want to carry all these particular groceries? And the point was, look, stores are doing interesting things. They're learning, and they're obviously adapting. They're changing. They're evolving. So I said, okay, good. So traditional stores are alive and well. At least they're breathing. They're alive and well. These guys are changing, transforming. So that was one side of the equation. Then on the other side, said, look, let's see what online companies are doing. Obviously, they themselves are doing very innovative things. Is that the trend? Is that where they're going to be doing? Yeah, and online companies, obviously, driven by startups, can do many, many innovative things here. So let me describe some of them to you here, which is this. This was one of them, which I've been looking at for a long time, which is called Rent the Runway. Yeah? What do you do in Rent the Runway? This is a company tailored towards women. You want to buy whatever you see on a runway, which models others wear. Very, very expensive to do. You don't have to buy it. Now you rent it. That's Rent the Runway, this particular model. When they started, nobody gave them a shot. Said, why would people be renting this particular stuff? Turned out to be tremendously popular. Yeah, and here's the way it works. Rent the Runway says what? You rent designer pieces. You go, decide which particular designer pieces you want. You like it, if you love the fit, you keep it and you use it, and after that you return it, and that's it. All you have to do is to pay a rental fee. Say, no, this is interesting. Now this is a change. I don't have to go to a shop or something. These companies are changing this entire behavior that I can get the designer stuff. For every day you can be seen in a designer outfit. Yeah, just be careful. Your neighbors are going to be very envious. But, you're going to be wonderfully, and it's turned out to be pretty successful, special occasion. You can do all this stuff here. This was started by two young ladies who graduated, offered an MBA program, and thought we should be changing all this particular stuff here. Show you a small video on these particular guys, what they did, what humble beginnings and where they started off from.
Two women from Harvard Business School dreamed up a company based on a simple premise. A woman never has to wear the same outfit twice, and she doesn't have to buy it at all. Sounds good, right? Millions of other women like that idea, too. Michelle Miller is inside a warehouse in Secaucus, New Jersey, just west of New York City, with a story that you'll see only on CBS This Morning. Michelle, we like it. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, this is just about every woman's fantasy. Thousands and thousands of dresses right at her fingertips. Well, Rent the Runway wants to change the way a woman gets dressed and how she invests in a wardrobe. So the woman who says to you, I have nothing to wear, you're turning her on her head.
Well, we have 100,000 options of what she can wear.
Inside this 40,000 square foot warehouse in Secaucus, New Jersey, is the giant closet that is Rent the Runway. The company, part e-commerce site and part tech startup, stores some pretty glamorous merchandise. 100,000 designer dresses, all available for rental through their website.
Before we send out any dress or any piece of jewelry to a customer, we'll do a final check to make sure that it's in perfect condition.
With more than 250 designer brands, rental prices range from $5 to $475. This $3,500 Calvin Klein dress rents for $170. This $1,000 Oscar de la Renta necklace for just $150. Jennifer Hyman is Rent the Runway's CEO. Who is Rent the Runway's target customer?
I call her the go-getter girl. She's a professional, and she's using Rent the Runway because it helps her optimize her time.
Do these designers see you as their competition?
Designers see us as one of their biggest allies because we're introducing a demographic of women that was not entering department stores to their brands. They come to me, they start renting $2,000 dresses, and they develop that brand affinity early.
So you hook them?
I hook them. I'm like a drug dealer.
Can't get enough.
Drug dealer of fashion.
Do you think that the sizing is right?
Kayla Gogos has been renting for weddings, parties, and dates going on 3 years. She now tries on possible rentals at the company's first standalone store in New York City.
In a day where we don't always splurge, it feels like a very inexpensive luxury.
With thousands of styles to choose from, customers can browse by trend or event, borrowing items for up to 8 nights. Rent the Runway sends 2 sizes to ensure the proper fit. After the rental ends, the outfit is shipped back for free. Hyman says this has been Rent the Runway's secret weapon.
Welcome to the country's largest dry cleaning facility.
A warehouse and technology system that organizes and dispatches more than 90,000 items every day to its 5 million members across the country. An average dress on Rent the Runway goes home to 30 different customers.
Stop this. This one goes on here. And she says the first thing they did, the first warehouse that they opened was actually in a dry cleaning shop. I mean, they didn't have any money, they didn't have this much. So they rented a dry cleaning shop. They had all these particular things. They put some dresses, they would send them. That's how the whole company started. So dry cleaners have a future. You can become, rent whatever it is that you needed to. But that's how they did. This is very, very different. This is not something that you realize otherwise. And this company did something like this. But they've gone further now. This was yesterday in the sense that this is what they started off a few years ago. Now it's not just designer dresses. It's everyday clothes. They say rent all the clothes you wanted to. Anybody office-going clothes. So they said people started to cheat. You get a designer dress, you're supposed to return it on Monday. First you wear it to office on Monday, then you return it. Yeah, you were not supposed to wear it at that particular time, but then you see. They said, okay, then we can do the other dresses as well. So now they do even everyday office dresses. They've gone even one step further now, which is this. Rent the Runway just announced that it's going to be renting out bedding, pillows, and other soft goods. You might say, I'm not renting this particular stuff out, but who knows? Who knows? Well, they've managed to make it work to a select group of households. Is that what the future of shopping or whatever acquisition is all about? This was Rent the Runway. Well, this is not all. Companies have gone one step further. What's the one step further? I go back to my list here, this one here, and the number 5 on that particular list is this company called Stitch Fix. What does Stitch Fix do? Even one step further. So in Rent the Runway, you have to go somewhere, select a dress, you come. Here you don't have to go anywhere. You just sit at home, and this is what happens. A Stitch Fix, what happens here? You fill out a style form. They send you a delivery of an ensemble of clothes. You like it, you keep it. You don't like it, you send it back. Yeah. After a while, whatever it is, they'll send you another one. If you like it, you keep it, you pay for it, otherwise you send it back. This is Stitch Fix. Is that the future? Is this working here? This is the observation of the founder of this particular company. This is what she said. She said, I worked for every major consulting company in the world. I did a lot of work with retailers and restaurants. While I love both industries and how meaningful they are, I was intrigued that they still provided the same experience they had in the 1970s or the 50s, despite how much the world had changed. All the stores are the same. Then she says, how would someone buy jeans 10 years down the road? I knew it wouldn't be the traditional model, go to 6 stores, pull out a pair of jeans, try them on. He says, I believed it'll be different. That's why I tried these things. Has it been successful? Here are some numbers here. They sold that many $1 million of clothing, that many $1 million here. They have 2 million active clients, more than 700 brands. And here's something that they say about themselves. He says, we are not upselling you anything. We are finding outfits which are unique and personal for you. Who are the ones who select all these particular outfits? They call it curation. They have designers selecting outfits for you. With free of cost, free of service, they send it to your home. Now, this is very different. This kills the retail stores. Now you're going to be sitting at home doing all these particular things. So 2 models which are completely different. I said, okay, maybe this one and this one too works very, very successful. Okay. The previous 2 examples were for all women. Yeah, nobody targets guys. Yeah, as long as we have it in black, it's all okay. Yeah, who wants all this designer stuff? At least we need this particular part here. But this is a company which is also changing. After all, the company is Gillette. I never expected it to. I went to their website for a reason. I have never seen a more emotional site. It's as if these guys are trying to get close to me. I said, why? You're selling Gillette. You're selling blades. Because they have competition. They have competition from this one loud-mouthed guy who single-handedly almost changed all this entire business, which is this particular guy here. Yeah? This is called Dollar Shave Club. Just play this one.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah. $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis. And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, Pop-Up! Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandra and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandra, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
So when I'm coming to see you,
There you go. They completely changed this particular model. I don't have to go outside my house. You don't have to do something. The blades come to you. So if you're Gillette, what do? Only one thing left for you to do. What do? They were bought over. Gillette's competitor bought them for $1 billion. Yeah. But if you're Gillette, then what do? Wait, this one. What did they do? Gillette Shave Club. They will do the same thing. So no need to go outside and buy any blades. You sit at home, they will ship it to you, etc., etc. So nice. So again, this is changing once again. This is online. You sit, you don't have to go anywhere else. Largest brands in the world. That's what they have started to do, etc. here. Yeah? Okay. My final example of a company. One of my favorite companies. This particular company is absolutely amazing. This company is called Zappos. Yeah, my students know. Yeah. What do they sell? They started to sell shoes. Yeah, so I said, what's a big deal about shoes? It's a remarkable company. They will ship the shoes to you. Then you say, look, if they don't fit, what am I supposed to be doing? They'll say, keep it, try it on. If they don't fit, you can return it back. Do you know what's the return period? 1 year. 365 days, no questions asked. Yeah, you can keep the shoes for how many shoes will they ship to you? As many as you want. If you return more shoes, they will send you an apology card. Sorry, we could not meet your needs. Yeah. This is a remarkable company. This is a company where everybody loves them. This is the founder of that particular company. I'll play this one a little bit here.
Nightline. If you're looking for a certain pair of shoes, there's a warehouse in Kentucky that probably has them. They've got 1,000 brands in just about every style, size, and color. 4 million pairs of shoes. 24 hours a day, they're boxing them up and shipping them out to shoe shoppers sitting in the comfort of home.
Good morning, and thank you for calling Zappos.com, where Elvis was once spotted in our warehouse looking for a pair of blue suede shoes.
This is Zappos.com, and what Amazon did for books, Zappos is doing for shoes. They're trying to revolutionize how business is done and how people work. The name is an adaptation of the Spanish word for shoe. And this year, 9 years after going into business, Zappos is on track to sell $1 billion worth of shoes.
You will have these shoes on Monday with our free upgrade.
And they're having a party doing it. One night, it was a toga party. Work hard, play hard.
Smiling and laughing and clapping and making jokes. But you're very reserved.
Yeah, and that's part of what I mean when I say I'm not the one that is saying, okay, here's what the culture should be.
Well, why isn't your phone center in India?
Because we don't think you're going to be able to give great customer service by outsourcing it. And for us, if customer service is what our brand is going to be about, then you can't outsource that. If a customer is looking for a specific pair of shoes and we're out of stock of their size, say, everyone here is trained to look on at least 3 competitor websites. And if they find the shoe in stock on the competitor, direct the customer to the competitor. And that,
what do you get out of that? Somebody else sells the shoes?
Yeah, we lose that sale.
What they get, they think, is customer loyalty. 75% of their business is people who come back. And part of their training is exposing employees to every part of the business. Remember Sari Levine? After finishing her training at the call center, she's now shipping shoes in Kentucky.
Customers and try out different suggestions. They even suggested cookware, so we're selling cookware.
So you have customers who like you so much they just want to do business with you almost no matter what it is they're buying.
Yeah, we have received emails from customers that have asked us to start an airline, and we're not going to do that this year, but 30 years from now, I wouldn't rule out a Zappos airline.
They are absolutely remarkable. They can sell anything. Customers love them so much. If that's the case, you can buy anything online. It doesn't matter if cookware to clothes, as long as it's from this particular company. Here's the other remarkable thing. You can call them any time of the day or night. Sitting here in Singapore on a Friday evening. Once you go out, you're feeling a little bit bored on the way back, you can call Zappos. They will talk to you. You can ask them anything that you wanted to. They will interact with you. The longest phone call at their call center was 10 hours. Yeah, don't go to a psychologist, waste of money. Call them and they'll talk to you. No, I might be being facetious, but they are one of those remarkable companies people love to do. If that's going to be the model, this is all online. This is a very different paradigm that we have here. And they have all kinds of things that they want to spread. I'll skip this particular part here. So looking at all these particular examples, I said, oh boy, online is doing really well. So that's why, offline stores, traditional stores are in trouble on the other hand. Yeah. So these are two sides that here, who's going to be winning this particular game? We do not know, at least, but you have merits on each particular side. Let me end my part with a few other thoughts, which is this particular one here. There's a still slightly broader context here, and the context is something like this. Look, the entire retail sales worldwide is about, a $28 trillion market. Yeah? Although I didn't realize at that time. Any idea how much is online as a part of this particular market? It's not that big. So out of the $1 trillion which are spent annually worldwide in retail, the online market is about 15% right now. Yeah? And it has a long way to grow. Yeah, is it going to be growing? Is it going to be online stores? It's going to be others. So there's a whole lot of potential, but the pie is fairly large in that sense. But we also need to understand some broader contexts. And that's what I call some social changes. Let me quickly point out those things to you. As human beings, what is it that we want? What are the social changes which are taking place? What's happening around us in a broader fashion? Which is this particular part. I often say this. There's an article which came out, became controversial. Basically, it says, is Google making us stupid? Yeah. I often say this. Imagine we all use Google all the time. Is Google making us stupid? Maybe you don't know. What is Google doing to our memories? Are our memories improving or deteriorating? Yeah, if our memories are deteriorating, and then what should we be doing with them? Look, we have memory. What should we do with it? Right? If I don't use it because Google is going to tell me everything else, what should I use my memory for? Here's my characterization of Google, the way I call it. Yeah? Google gives us all the answers. Very good. Very, very helpful. Yeah? But Google goes one step further. Even before I ask a question, Google is telling me what question I should be asking. Hey, Google, you are telling me what question I should ask. You are telling me what the answer is. What the heck am I there for? So what should I do with my time? I have all the time in what should I be doing with my own particular time? I can't ask a question. I don't have to search for an answer. You are doing all the job for me. What should I be doing in that particular regard? And then, of course, Google came up with this particular one. It made us completely redundant. What will we do with our lives? People will say, we'll figure it out. We'll do some higher level stuff. I don't know what that higher level stuff is, right? We better figure this out. We'll have all these particular stuff here. And that's the trend. It's happening more and more in that particular sense. Okay, we'll say, what are we going to be doing? We'll be playing lots of chess. But, when you start to play chess, what happens? The computer program beats you. Then you feel very dejected. Oh, I don't want to play chess. This is unfair competition. Then we say, I'm going to be going and looking at quiz shows, Q&A. Then the computer program beats us once again. In jeopardy, it's not even a contest. Those of you who play Go, then the computer program will beat you. Then what should I do with my life? Right? All these things, we have this particular context going on here. Machines are doing more and more of the part here. This is a computer machine. This is an IBM machine which beat human beings in a debating competition. I don't want to debate also. If I debate, then the machine will beat me again. This is very embarrassing. So I should be looking for higher level stuff. I don't know what that higher level stuff is. But that's a real challenge. I might be saying this facetiously, but for example, that's what we'll be doing. This is a picture of Singapore. And it's whatever the people are doing here, this is what the same activity taking place in India. Yeah. This is the same activity taking place in Korea. One uncle, which is what? What are they doing? Pokemon Go. Oh, I found something to do in life. I will do all Pokemon Go. We have nothing else to do. Okay. So if I carry on that particular thread here, the notion is, machines are coming. Machines are here. Robotics, artificial intelligence. And we characterize that in different ways. For example, today in Singapore, what's a big buzzword here? We say Industry 4.0. What's Industry 4.0? Robotics, automation, all these things. So if machines are going to be doing more and more of that particular job, what should we be doing? We have to spend some time somewhere, and then what should we be doing? Yeah? If it's a Friday evening, you say, look, I have nothing else to do. Now machines are doing all the job. I can't do this. And what should we be doing, especially on a Friday evening? We can do one thing. We can all do, we can all go have fun. We can go have fun, do all this particular stuff. But still, here's a problem which remains. The problem is this particular one. Once we party, we go back home, we'd had a few drinks, and what's the next thing which happens while you have a few drinks and you sit in front of your computer? What do you start to do? This is what you start to do. $400 per year is what an individual on an average spends after they have had a few drinks, and then they start to shop online. So here's an article which basically said, drunk online shopping is big business. You party, then I have time after that. What do? Let's go shopping. How much of that particular shopping, how much that accounts for? That's $48 billion on drunk purchases every year. Then the question still remains, where will I be shopping? Will I be shopping online? So that still remains. And if I put it more seriously, what we have now with human beings as society progresses is more and more of cognitive surplus. How will I use that surplus? Should I go shopping? Should I go shopping here? Or should I go shopping offline or online in some particular way? That's the challenge. That's what this particular landscape is all about. And that's why we call this the looming battle in e-commerce. Yeah? So I'll stop here. I'll have the panelists talk about their own particular businesses, and then we'll carry on the discussion from there. Folks, thank you.
Wow, what a sharing, what a presentation. We will let our panelists hook up his laptop. So let me use a couple of minutes to introduce our one of the next panelists. His name is Mr. Ryan Tay. By the way, the CEO of Lazada Singapore was supposed to be here, but due to his last-minute business trip, he has to fly off, and he has asked his Chief Business Officer, Mr. Ryan Tay, over here, to actually share with us what Lazada is doing. So Ryan is the Chief Business Officer and Head of Last Mall for Lazada Singapore. So he actually oversees the commercial function encompassing pricing strategy, Lazada's retail businesses, brand barters, and brand partnerships. And his skills include market research, data analysis, and marketing and business strategy. Prior to his role as Chief Business Officer, he was responsible for growing the electronics category for Lazada Singapore, covering consumer electronics and household appliances. Before joining Lazada, Ryan also spent more than 5 years in the market research, and of which 8 months were spent in Chile when he was handpicked for a secondment for Euromonitor International. Are we ready? Okay, so give him a couple of seconds to hook it up. And it'll be interesting to listen to Lazada's business model. How is it different from what Prof. Sethi has just described? And later on, we have another panelist from Shopback. She's going to share about her business model. And you can make comparison to see which one works better. And by the way, have a show of hand. How many of you have not ever shopped online before? Have not? So everyone does. So the growth of 15% will grow up further, right? Definitely. Okay, Mr. Rante.
Hi everyone. Can everyone hear me? Yeah, thank you, Professor Vijay, for having me here today. So I hope with this presentation, I can give everyone a glimpse into Lazada Live. And so hopefully the next lecture that Prof. Vijay gives, I will see the Lazada logo there as well. Okay, so without further ado, let me just share with you the agenda. So essentially, I'm going to cover 3 parts to Lazada's business. So essentially, I think I feel like it's better to tell you the story of how we founded it and till this point, this day, how Lazada has evolved and what is our direction and mission. So I think Prof. Vijay earlier on has shared a lot about US, how a very developed market has looked into e-commerce and the 15% that is growing. How is it like in this part of the world? Maybe let me just bring you guys closer over to Asia. And to take a look at how Southeast Asia itself is handling this looming battle with e-commerce online and offline. So I'll tell you the story of Lazada, share a bit insights about Southeast Asia e-commerce performance, as well as how we do business the Lazada way. Okay, so this essentially encapsulates the entire Lazada's journey. So we interestingly just celebrated our 7th birthday on the 27th of March. Okay, so I think it started all with a team of our European founders in Singapore, and they realized that there are a lot of brands, a lot of products they can't just seem to find in this region of the world. Hence, they feel like maybe it's time to do something different. Maybe it's time to learn from how the other mature markets are doing. Let's bring in this world's branded largest assortment into this region. Hence, Rocket Internet kickstarted Lazada. Okay? And then with that, we look into Southeast Asia because we all know that this region is really booming. Over the years, we have got many investors coming in because of how they believe in the business model and how we want to run the e-commerce in the region. And if you look at 2016, that is where we have Alibaba Group taking on a very major stake in our business. And then moving on, we evolve our business to really involve all the different types of needs to cater to consumers throughout their daily lives, throughout their life stages, but also incorporating RedMart into our business. In 2018, effectively this month, what you see is actually having RedMart channel onto the Lazada app. So this essentially revolutionized how Singapore, how the region is going to look at e-commerce, because essentially now you can simply just sit at home the whole day, shop your groceries, buy anything you need just with the app. Now, I think we all know that e-commerce is growing. There's a lot of business opportunities. But I think what Lazada sets off to achieve is something that is more than that. Think about 7 years ago, okay, especially for those who are not from Singapore, you're from Southeast Asia region, you can imagine how hard it is to really, have to actually commute from one island to another island in Indonesia, in the Philippines. There are a few hundred islands. So how are you going to access to all these places and to the most rural part of the country? So, infrastructure is not ready. Do you even have proper roads? So how do retailers actually bring their products down to this part of the villages to actually make products accessible to these people? Credit card payment. So what is the penetration of credit card do you think is it currently in this region in Southeast Asia? Think about 5 to 7 years ago. Okay, it's even much lower, especially if you think about Indonesia, Philippines, where people don't even have a bank account to begin with. Of course, if you think about your holiday trips to Europe, to the outlet malls, you will start buying products that you don't see here, labels and brands that you don't have it here. So how do we want to actually bring all these international brands available from all other parts of the world into this region? And last but not least, in the past, how many people owns a phone? Think about how many people in Vietnam and Philippines have access to mobile internet, is able to actually reach out to the greater part of all the information. So I think we recognize this limitations in the region, but we still want to actually really achieve what we set out to do to make products, brands accessible throughout the whole of Southeast Asia. Hence, we are looking at our mission to really accelerate progress in this region through commerce and technology. And why commerce and not e-commerce? Okay, so I think everyone in this region, you know that, for example, in Singapore, there's so many businesses out there. There's so many tens of thousands of businesses in Indonesia and Philippines. So from there, they are also our target audience to really enable them to reach out to all the consumers who are looking for products and services. Hence, it's not just e-commerce, but we want to really marry both online and offline to look at how commerce can actually enable customers to reach out. And also with technology, earlier on we shared about how smart the internet, how smart our machines are to really learn about customers and to really learn about what you need and tell them, today you need to replenish your cart of your eggs, your milk in your refrigerator. How do we do that? So essentially, we aim to really serve these 300 million customers in this region. And also, with that comes along a lot of job opportunities. And whatnot, these are really small businesses that are trying to grow and find a footing in this region. So how can someone living in one part of East Malaysia being able to sell to the other end? It's really through e-commerce, and that really enables them to set up something so scalable without needing to actually invest money into setting up stores, hundreds and tens of hundreds of stores around the island. Now, just to share a bit about how we have progressed, think about 4 days of a sale. We, in fact, enabled 400,000 brands and merchants in this region to achieve more than 1.3 billion, in traffic, as well as more than 1 million parcels. Think about it, how many parcels are there per second that is being transacted? Okay, so I think what we do here is trying to really scale this and make it so accessible to everyone in different parts of the Southeast Asia region, down to the very village. We have got our own delivery fleets that goes through all the mud tracks, down to all the village to do deliveries. So this is what we really want to do in terms of enabling the customers in the most rural part of the country to have access to all the brands and products. So a little bit tidbit about Southeast Asia. All the research papers out there have talked about how booming this region are. The US is a very developed country. Okay. However, the road access to which how delivery can be made is so easy. But you juxtapose it with this region where there's so many islands, so many different ways to actually get across from islands to islands. I think it makes e-commerce a lot more difficult and more challenging. So if you think about it, 650 million of people, and we have a lot of a very young population, 45%, think about it. For Vietnam, for Indonesia, we have a lot of the Gen Y and the Gen Z, they are really up and coming. So we want to capitalize of this growing population and also to really enable them to follow the latest trend and how people are shopping and enable them in terms of this lifestyle. So this is just some snapshot of how the market is growing. If you look at the compounded annual growth rate of how this region is, it's in a high double digits, 20%, 30%, even 40% that you see in Vietnam. So which countries, which developed economies are you still seeing this kind of growth? Okay, so I think this really tells us that continuously there's a lot of expectation, there's a lot of growth, and year on year, you will see the analysts revising this growth upwards over and over again. Now let's take a deeper look into the 6 different countries that Lazada is in, essentially forming up the key markets of Southeast Asia. Now, it's a very diverse group of people. Like each country, you have your own nationality, you have your own race. You don't have to talk about Singapore. We have 4 races in total, and in fact, we have a lot of expats and foreign talents coming in. So with that, we see a lot of growing internet penetration, mobile penetration. So now, in the past, maybe 7 to 10 years ago, how many people own a phone? Think about it now. Even your kids going to school now carries an iPhone. Okay? So I think it has developed a lot. And in fact, if you see other countries, this is part and parcel of their life. You don't even see anything else. You do hardly read a book. You spend more time on your phone than anything. So with that, we want to also ride on this wave and enable them to really, at their convenience, purchase and shop for whatever they need. So how do we do the business Lazada way? Now, this essentially forms the entire blueprint of how we run. I think we talked about assortment, we talked about brands, we talked about availability, we talked about customer service. But I think the backbone of e-commerce is really, really driven by 3 things: technology, logistics, and payment. You can have the best product in the world, you can have the best customer service, but in the end, if you are not able to bring this particular order to a village in Balikpapan, then there's no point running an e-commerce business. And if they can't pay, if they don't have a trust to really pay the money upfront, then we will not have a transaction. We will still not see any sale. So I think with businesses trying to engage into the biggest consumer and the fastest growing consumer segment in this region, technology, logistics, and payment is what we believe that is the most important in an e-commerce business. Now, technology. So I think we talked about earlier on how the machines start learning, how they predict things before you know it. And indeed, this is what is happening. So what we have is really abundance of data that customer interact through our app. And through the app, we learn about how they actually buy in terms of their behavior and their pattern. So let me use myself as an example. So I like beer. What we have developed so far in the Lazada app really reads what you want and continuously personalize all the selection and push it back to you. So if you have a Lazada app and you've been a shopper of Lazada, you would probably be asking yourself, how come there are so many products that I've viewed before, retargeted and pushed back to me? Previously, I was looking at Corona. So I click into the beer category. It says Heineken. So basically, you have to have a product that represents beer, right? So I click into it. I was shopping. I look at Corona. And the next moment, I refresh the page again. The icon of that category, the beer category, becomes a Corona. Okay? And then I went to Facebook. And the next moment, I saw the beer again. And then Instagram, the same. So it's like, okay, someone is reading me and someone is chasing. But in fact, this is what we are trying to do in order to use data to really reach out to customers and try to convince them of their purchase. Now, I think right now, everyone is a shopper here. You would have bought something today or yesterday or this week. Now, imagine you're making a very big ticket purchase, like an iPhone, like a laptop. Now, would you just think of it and say, okay, I want this, I'm buying now? So can I see a show of hands who decides and buy at the same time, like in the first transaction? Okay, can I see a show of hand who goes to the offline retail store, press the computer 3-4 times, go online, do some research, and then ask your friends about it, and then finally make the purchase? Okay, so I think you can tell that the customer behavior, the purchasing journey is getting very complicated. Now, there's no right way of purchasing. There's no right way of deciding. Now, with that, what we try to do with our technology is really to see the moment you interact with us. Say you want to look for a laptop that's i7 processor. Now, the next moment, we recognize that, and then we will tell you what are the i7s that you might want to consider based on your search history. So through this rigorous machine learning, we understand what they need, and then we push it back to our customers. So with that, we see a very targeted and a very precise use of data instead of just mindlessly telling you, hey, this is what you need to buy, this is 50% off, you should do that. So I think what we are using our technology here is really to access the deepest behavioral pattern of our customers. Next point, logistics. Now, like I mentioned earlier on, you can have the best product, but if you can't deliver it, you can't fulfill the last mile to your customers, then basically you are not running a business. So I think what we really strive to have is to reach the deepest villages in all these Southeast Asian markets through our fulfillment and sort centers. We want to have the best network of coverage that we can. So in fact, you see here our key fulfillment centers where we really have products coming in and sort. So for Lazada, we do have a batch of in-house fleets of the drivers. And with that, we are able to have full control over how and when these products will go. In fact, being able to reach customers is not enough. So we try to improve and make sure that we have the best experience given to customers. So I think why customers really want to shop online, aside from price, is really the convenience. It's really about how I can have a 2-hour time slot from 7 to 9 p.m., sit at home, watch Netflix, while I wait for the delivery guy to come. Okay, this is what we are doing with our RedMart channel. So you are able to choose the time slot where you can have the products to be delivered to you. Now, on top of that, if you are basically just offering delivery, what makes it so different that you have to go to a shopping mall just down the road to buy something? It's faster, right? And it's basically a little bit of fast, but actually you can still have what you need in the shortest and quickest time. And I think we all love the instant gratification that we have when we sit at home, open up a new purchase, and start playing with it. Now, so what we also want to do is to really ensure that we have a promised delivery timeline as well as the fastest delivery possible. Hence, what you see earlier on as the different sortation center will enable us to reach to the different parts of the country. Now, we always keep thinking about Singapore, it's so small. But think about Vietnam, where it's a very long stretch of land with with Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi at both ends. Then what about the middle? So how do we enable that? With the sortation center, with logistics, with the in-house fleets that we have, we're able to access the different parts in the shortest time possible. So of course, logistics is also tied back to technology. So we can also predict, let's say for example in Singapore, with the RedMart 2-hour slots, we are able to consolidate where the orders are. For example, let's say there are a lot of orders coming into NTU, from our students. What we can do is to really prompt customers, hey, if you are selecting this slot, we give you $1 off. This enables us to help consolidate orders, put them together, and really reduces costs. So with technology, it's not just about reading customers, but it's also making business more efficient, more cost-effective. And last but not least, payment. In Singapore, we pretty much, I think everyone here owns an ATM card, owns a debit card or a credit card. But I think if you think about in Indonesia, there are more than 30-40% of people who transact online, they're still using cash. We first started our business thinking that, maybe let's just use credit card. However, we realized that by allowing cash payments opens up a very big opportunity for us because they're just people who do not have the ability to own a credit card. So with that, we managed to push our frontiers further. And in fact, with all the different partners that we have, we continue to encourage customers to pay and to give them that secure and trusted avenue to really transact. Now, after talking about the 3 key drivers of e-commerce, I would want to also talk about what marketplace is. So I think we talked about earlier on Amazon. So in the western part of the world, Amazon is the leader, and they also have got a very vibrant marketplace. So essentially, for everyone here, marketplace essentially is a platform where merchants is enabled to sell to the right kind of customers. So essentially, we are like the matchmaker. Okay? We acknowledge what are the demand, we bring them in, and we also have the merchants that provide the supplies. So hence, on the demand side, I mentioned earlier on personalization. So if you have your friends' Lazada app or the person sitting beside you, you can start comparing. No one has the same app interface. So all the products that are being showed are totally different based on your past history. So we do a lot of serious studies and data analytics with our merchants on the user behavior, and also to tell them when is the best time customers are shopping, when is the best time to actually sell products. So electronic sellers will find past 10 p.m. to be the best time. Fashion sellers, they feel that morning commute and evening commute will be the best time for people to do. Aside from watching Korean dramas, I think Singaporeans have a new pastime, which is really to shop. Now, supply. So we really enable the smallest businesses to really sell. And we have so many business owners coming to us and really thanking us that, because of you, I'm able to sell to the other end of Indonesia. So with that, it's really heartening to know that whatever we are doing is really there to not just benefit consumers, but also to grow the business and SMEs in this region. So of course, to really excite customers, we run a lot of consumer engagements, mega campaigns, and also to help them shop carefully, shop properly, and shop efficiently. So for instance, in our RedMart channel, so if you're a RedMart customer, you will see that you can actually prepare a list. So think about it. As a customer, when we walk to a supermarket, we go in, we'll start looking for things. Sometimes, we pretty much have 8 out of 10 things that we check out being what we want to buy, but definitely there are 2 or 3 things that we always just happen to take it, right? So we want to also make this process a lot more easier because you definitely have the 8 things on your list to be replenished every day. So essentially, every week. So what we'll do is to really enable them to have this list, and immediately with just one touch, you can actually check out. So we want to understand how consumers purchase, how they shop, and then really enable them with our technology and how the user journey should be with our app. Now, so we have got a channel that is called Last Mall. Essentially, if you are familiar with Alibaba, Tmall, and Taobao, Tmall is basically a trusted trusted platform. Likewise for Last Mall. So if you think about it, if you are a Vietnamese consumer, you go to a shop, potentially you can buy an iPhone that is black and white. So counterfeits are very prevalent in these countries. Okay, so what we want to do is also to give customers an ease of mind. Earlier on, I said that the marketplace is basically marrying merchants and customers. So you will have all sorts of merchants there. And of course, we want to really help ensure that customers are protected. How many of you, when you go online to buy something, you actually ask, oh, is this real? Is this, I don't know whether it feels safe for me to buy or not. So I think what we are trying to do here is really to establish a very trusted and safe environment for customers to actually shop. So what we have done is to really promise customers in terms of our authenticity of product. So in fact, if any product is found counterfeit, we are there to actually refund 2 times the product price. And hence, what we do is to really partner all the international brands directly and launch this product with their recognition as well. Okay, let me skip. And last but not least, I think one important thing that I want to cover is, I think we have been talking about online being e-commerce fully. I think what we see now in the past 2 years is that we are marrying online and offline together. We are having a lot of interactions online together with offline events to really get customers to interact. So why are we limiting them to actually pay and receive the goods at home? Why can't I just buy from the app and actually collect the products from the store itself? So we want to actually marry both of them together. So I don't think it's always a very clear online and offline. It can be and. So some examples to end this presentation. What we are doing is really to have offline presence to actually enable brands to reach out to customers. So by having an event at Plaza Singapura, why would Lazada and online player be there? What we want to do is really bring customers into this shopping mall. So we have a collaboration with them and we tell them, why not we have an event here? We have our loyal customers, we bring them into your store, we create footfall. Likewise, we create hype by having countdown parties at a club, essentially just to get the KOLs to come in, interact with the brand, and through this, create additional channel for brand to reach out to their consumers. Zook out. With earlier on 45% of the world, with the region population being used, why not we reach out to them as well to enable them to understand the brands and to interact both online and offline. So we recently just concluded this birthday bash where we have our KOLs, up to 70 of them, they're trying to work with to celebrate our birthday just 2 weeks ago. And for those who have caught the live stream, we have Dua Lipa, our international global star, celebrating our birthday in Jakarta together with us. And what we believe is that eventually shopping will be coupled with entertainment. So we call it shoppertainment. And there, we will actually have people at the same time while watching the show, see products that are being pushed to them. So for example, halfway through, you can start seeing all the different promotions that we have. And in the future, for example, in China, when they have these big concerts, Tmall, they will actually tell you what are these stars wearing. And if you want to get them, you can just check out right now. So it's really about engaging them both online and offline. Something close to heart in Singapore, where we have our IT shows, and that's where we actually encourage customers to really interact both online, to look at the products, to do their research. If they want to buy offline and carry it home, why not? But if they want to really just check out and have, spend the other half of the day going out with their friends without carrying all the products, they can do so as well. Okay, one last thing about online and offline. So in terms of shopping for groceries, how many people dare to, at first hand, buy fruits and vegetables from an online grocer? Everyone is housewife, right? You have housewife in you that you want to go into a supermarket, start touching the orange, start touching the capsicums, and try to see whether it's fresh or not. Now, what we are trying to do here is to really convince customer that what we have is really fresh, and through this engagement, they are able to see how fresh our product is and have that trust. We recently had an event with the Teochew fish soup. So this is one of the most well-accoladed fish soup in Singapore. And basically, after that, they actually reviewed that the fish soup tastes better with the red mud fish. So here we are trying to actually, encourage people to really try and take a step forward and believe in all this fresh produce that we have. So online, offline, always coming in together. Okay, so this basically rounds up my presentation. So hope that you can get a better glimpse into Southeast Asia e-commerce as well as Lazada. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Next up, we want to invite our next panelist. Her name is Josephine Chow. She's the co-founder and head of international expansion of Shopback. She's one of our alumni. In fact, last year she won the NTU Wikimbi School of Communication Information Alumni Award. And of course, last year she was also selected by Forbes to be the Forbes 30 under 30. That means the top 30 young entrepreneur who are below the years of 30 years old. So before she co-founded Shopback, Josephine actually spent about 4 or 5 years with another e-commerce company to accumulate enough knowledge to be on her own. So I thought it's good that we actually invite her to share about her experience as well as how the business model of Shopback, and hopefully we can have enough time for some interaction with you. Okay, Josephine, thanks a lot.
Hi guys. Thanks, Dr. To. Thanks, Mr. Prof. VJ, of course. Not used to being in school again. So I really enjoyed your lecture. It really brought me back, and I'm now considering whether or not it's time for me to get back to school again or not. But before I start, I think you guys have been sitting there for a really long time. Maybe we can do some arm exercises by me asking you a couple of questions first. I guess first of all, how many of you guys are actually students from NTU? Oh, very impressive. Like, I think back in uni days, I wasn't so hardworking to stay back on a Friday night. So you guys must have really bright futures ahead. Anyone from Wikimwi? Oh, okay, there's one there. Ex-colleague who's also part of Shopback team. Last question. Anyone of you heard of Shopback before? Oh, okay, that's a pretty sizable number. It makes me quite glad. Well, we are a 4-year-old company, and I'll take my opportunity to share with you what we do and why we do what we do. I think there are 2 things that are really close to my heart for this lecture today. First of all, being alumni, I was just really glad to be back in school. And second of all, very close to my heart is actually startup Lazada as well. I wasn't from Lazada, but I was from the sister company Zalora about 8 years ago. On the first year, it actually launched. And I think Ryan and Prof. Vijay actually highlighted a couple of good points about how e-commerce was so different back then. In fact, it was so different it didn't exist, right? Do you remember the days when you were trying to buy things online, but you can't? You're actually buying things through forums. Do you remember that? You actually had to put your order through a very dodgy post-comment piece and then tell the buyer that you wanted to buy like 7 pieces of lingerie from Victoria's Secret, for instance. Someone's booking a cab already. Am I boring you? Yeah, and you actually had to put in your bank details. I remember those days where you had to put your bank details, and then you pray that a guy actually pays you the money, and you pray that a parcel actually gets delivered to you. Do you remember that? Because I do, and that was the dodgiest time of my life where I really wanted to buy things that were not available in Singapore, but there was no logistics that actually supported online shopping back then. And I think Brian probably feel the pain as well, being back then too. For me, being in Zalora, there were a few things that I think I learned there that I guess really triggered the decision to start Shopback. And maybe to give you a very quick intro before I run into why we started doing this, we actually wanted to come up with a concept that would help users shop smarter online. And that's because when I was in Zalora, one thing that I realized back then was that number one, customers didn't really trust online shopping at all. That was about 8 years ago. Got better, but still. And then maybe 4 years down the road, people started to trust it, but didn't know how it worked. So then there was a lot of education that needed to be done on the consumer side. On the business side, I took care of all of the marketing initiatives back in Zalora, and what I noticed was marketing was extremely expensive to do back then because convincing someone to buy something online for the first time is number one, hard, so your conversion rates are already really bad. Second of all, there were only 2 main channels that you could use online back then, which was your Google and your Facebook, right? They charge you by impressions, they charge you by clicks. But if none of these traffic that goes to your website actually transacts, you actually make $0. So you spend a lot of money without driving any results. So I think a few of us were really affected emotionally by that. We were spending a lot of money doing advertising without good ROI. And the idea was to come up with a model that would charge businesses on a commission basis so that it's completely risk-free for them, and then only charge them when there was actually a transaction. So how we work is very, very simple. We work with over 2,000 brands. For instance, Lazada is actually one of them. We've got ASOS, Amazon, eBay across the globe. And what we do is every time there's a successful transaction that happens through our site, these brands actually pays us a commission, and we share that commission with the customers as cashback. So essentially, we are paying you to shop online, just to try us out. And it was very exciting for us back then because we weren't only solving the problem of trying to educate users to shop online, but it was also helping businesses to market more cost effectively. And lastly, we all know that in Asia, everyone loves receiving incentives, promo codes, voucher codes, cashback, rebates, credit card points, miles. We're all so used to incentives. So the idea for ShopBack was actually very, very interesting for us because we knew this was something that people would love and people would want to try out. So today, quite exciting to say that we have over 8 million users across 7 markets, over 200 ShopBackers across 8 offices, so we're in 7 markets but 8 different offices, over 3 million monthly sales just in 2018, which is pretty impressive given we've been around for only 3.5, 4 years. And these are some of the brands that we work with. Hopefully you've heard of all of them, Lazada, Remart being some of them. And very similarly, we believe in a very much of a digital style of marketing because for us, digital marketing is always a little bit easier for us to measure successful results. But I think today's topic is very much about how online and offline actually cross into each other. And I think Ryan actually shared a very good example of how they actually managed to integrate e-commerce into the offline world. Very similarly, that's extremely important to us too, and I'll go into why that is. I've already explained how it works, so I'll just skip this. For those who are not aware of how our site or platform looks like, we are available both on mobile website and app. So I just wanted to show you how the user journey looks like before I actually go into the topic so you understand what we do and why we do what we do. So users come into our platform pretty much like a shopping mall, click into your favorite shop. It could be booking.com or Apple or Microsoft or Lazada. You'll be redirected to the website. You just need to shop as per normal. And then back on ShopBack, within 48 hours, you will have cashback appearing in your account. This is actually my account, and you'll see that I spent exorbitant amounts of money shopping. I have $2,000 of cashback. And those sharp ones will actually realize that these are actually not online shops that you see. These are actually restaurants, like Maki-san, Grain Traders, Teppei Shokudo. I'll explain a little bit why this appears in a little bit. But before then, I wanted to just share a little bit about the powers of working online as well. Now, offline, I think Prof. Vijay actually shared a lot of good points about how Target actually knows more about you than you know about yourself. It's true, right? It's bloody scary. And no jokes, online businesses can do that relatively easily as well. I pretty much know when a customer is about to make a trip, and I know that this person actually needs to buy travel insurance. I can do that. I would know if a customer actually needs a luggage because this is the last time he bought a luggage. And because we work with so many different verticals, I would know if someone actually needs to have a new wardrobe or if you actually need to top up your toilet paper to that extent. And that's how powerful online businesses are. This is actually one of my favorite slides. The first time I was part of an e-commerce, coming from a communication school, I am not very good with numbers at first. So I'll tell you that I'm okay, I'm pretty good now. But back then I was really bad, and I never really looked at numbers very much. But what e-commerce really taught me was the power of data. And this is a very, very simple example. This basically shows you the traffic volume over time. And in this graph, these 3 graphs, there are actually 3 countries here that I'll just tell you what they are. It's Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore. And you realize some of the styles are a little bit different. You'll see spikes during lunchtime, you see spikes just after lunchtime, and you see spikes at night for some countries. Anybody wants to venture a guess what they are? I don't have a prize. I can give you a referral code to sign up for ShopBack later if you win. But any guesses on what the first one is? Yes, yeah, that's Singapore, well done. How about a second? No cheating, yeah? If you guys are from e-commerces or startups, don't ruin the game. How about the second one? The second one, the spike comes after lunchtime. Malaysia. And the third one is actually during lunchtime. That's Indonesia. Did anyone get them all right? Okay, if you got them all right, you can come to me, or you can pretend you got them all right. I'll give you a referral code anyway. But it's very interesting to see, right, the shopping styles of people over time. The first one being Singaporeans, you can tell that they are like shopping after work hours. Very hardworking people. Y'all are not buying things like, during work hours. Second group, they're buying things during work hours, and we're like, oh, okay, you know what? Like, are they lazy? Very easy to generalize, right? But actually, what you don't realize is that data is not as easily accessible as in Singapore. And that is why a lot of people are actually buying things during work hours, because at work, you have your Wi-Fi, you have easy connection to data. Very, very simple things like that actually makes a huge difference. And third of all, the Indonesians actually buy just before and during lunchtime. So they are quite righteous also, huh? But you'll see differences in the way you shop. And that's very interesting because you can actually do a lot of segmentation targeting just to help users shop better and make better decisions over time too. This is my second favorite slide. And I think earlier what I was talking about very much on digital marketing was the power for you to do more cost-effective marketing. Now, I'm not saying that running TV ads or running print or anything is ridiculous. We do that. They are expensive, but they do help you hit certain targets of driving awareness, driving engagement with your brand, driving credibility of your brand. They are all extremely important things. But at the end of the day, what's important to a business is how you make money back eventually, right? You can spend $1 million on a TV ad, but if you drive $2 worth of sales, I think your business can close down lah, right? Very similarly, online, it's a lot easier for you to control. And there's been a recent surge in digital spend because it's so much easier for you to optimize in short periods of time, right? You can pump in $100 into Facebook ads. It does badly, you can take that ad off immediately, just like that. If it does well, you can pump more money into that and then optimize it further. If it does well, you can bring that ad to another platform and try a different target audience. It's so easy to control. And what we're doing here, right, is basically trying to evolve the model such that businesses will find the method of marketing a lot more cost effective. And for us, one thing that was a little bit scary was the fact that I actually spoke with one of my brand partners. So I'm not going to name drop who they are. But she actually told me that working on Google display ads actually drove a 1 in 4 million chance of making someone buy something. So this means that almost the entire Singapore would have seen the advertisement, but one person would have bought her item. I'm like, what kind of digital agency are you using? First of all, norm is the conversion rates are not so bad. But if you are not sure of how to actually run digital ads properly, this is what you potentially will see. And do you know how appalling this number is? Just to give you a benchmark. You can read yourself now. Your shark attack, about 1 in 3.7 million. Yeah, 1 in 1.2 million plane crash, struck by lightning, also 700,000. It's very, very close to that number. It's worse than actually all of them. And that's how difficult it is to really optimize ads if you are not sure how you're doing it. So evolving the model for us and making sure that the way we're driving purchases is cost effective is extremely real and very important. And the thing about Shopback is that we believe in that so much. We believe in our ability to make the transaction happen, but we still take the risk of advertising with Google and Facebook because we do have a team of expert marketeers who are able to optimize the ad. Not all the time, for sure. Sometimes we overspend, sometimes we underspend, but understanding the algorithm is extremely important. And this is just how much it could potentially cost for businesses when you're advertising on all the different platforms. And these are actual numbers that we pulled out from all our brand partners. Very expensive, you can see, depending on what your angle or your goal is for your business. But there are two things that I think a lot of businesses are already starting to look at. One is how much they spend to acquire an order, and how much they spend to acquire a new customer. And this is how much you'll potentially spend for each side. When there are no risks involved, only when transactions happen, that's when your costs are actually lowered. Okay, this is very new and very exciting. This was highly relevant for me in this topic because I will be very frank with you. When we first started ShopBack, we were very big believers in the online business. And I remembered one day, my CEO was walking around and I went up to him and I was like, hey, when do you think online will overtake offline? He just laughed at me. He's like, nah. I know we're on the online business, but there's no way online's gonna overtake offline anytime. There's no way. It's just part of your lifestyle. Yes, you have your mobile phones with you all the time. Yes, you're always on your laptops wherever you go. I think back then it was still PC, so you had to go home to use your desktops, right? But now you have your laptops. I can see a couple of people already using it. I don't know if you're shopping or taking notes, but it's so accessible today. And he was just telling me about how there's just probably not possible. Maybe even if it is possible, maybe down a few generations, then that's what it would become. But in the near future, there's no way online is going to be able to catch up with offline. Do you guys know what the percentage is of all online retail versus total retail, approximately? In Singapore, it's like 7 to 8%. It's super low, right? And you'd be shocked. Every year, they say, yeah, every year online is growing by hundreds of percent. Oh, every year it's mobile commerce is growing. But don't forget, offline is also still growing. Yes, certain places are closing down, but businesses they are innovating a lot to try and keep that business going as well in the offline space. And that's what we noticed pretty early on, well, not in our first years, unfortunately, but recently we decided to have a bigger focus on the offline world as well, because nobody is ever going to be doing online forever. You can shop, you can buy things online, but you can't just constantly deliver food to your house, right? Human norms not going to accept that. We're all socially adept, right? Aren't we? So offline still exists. And now we have introduced this new product that allows us to pay users to shop, to eat on top of shopping as well. I'll just show you how it works. This is how it looks like in our application. So the existing ShopBack users, you might or might not have seen this because a lot of it is actually pretty much on beta mode until recently. But within our app, we now have a separate section that allows you to link your credit card/debit card one time, go into the app, choose the restaurant that you want to eat at. You've got Yole, you've got Famous Amos, you've got, okay, those are not dinner places, are they? Broadside, you've got Tiong Bahru Bakery, you've got a lot of brand, I think it was 500 plus, that you can just activate and you'll immediately get cashback tracked based on the credit card that you paid with. So as long as you link the card in the app and you use that same card to pay, you get cashback. How simple is that, right? And this allows us to benefit users not just on the online space, but on the everyday essentials as well. When you eat, you want to earn. When you shop, you also want to earn. We cover both spectrums of things. And that's why today's topic was so close to my heart, because it's not just about online anymore. Obviously, times have changed and I've changed my opinions as well. I was very, very adamant that online is going to be huge, and it is huge, but I am standing quite strongly that there is really no battle. It's very much a complement of each other for both. And this is generally how it is. People shop, people need to spend, and people need to spend money on food as well. It's a very big mix. Nobody does one or the other. It's always both. I won't go through the technicality part of it unless you're interested. Are you interested? Okay, very quickly, since I saw a few nods. How we track it is pretty simple. We work directly with guys like MasterCard and Visa, and they actually have data points that allows us to know if you actually made a transaction through a certain card. And very similarly, our digital strategy also changed. Originally, it was very much about thinking about digital paid ads, thinking about Facebook ads, thinking about Google ads. But today, it's not just about doing social ads. It's about making sure that we have offline presence as well. And as online businesses, I think it's quite important to not forget the other half of the group of people who are still not even shopping online yet. It is a very big percentage. You'll be surprised. And I'm going to leave questions for later instead, so I hope you know a little bit more about our business. And if you have any questions, we'll leave it to the panel. Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Josephine. I would like to invite the speaker and the panelists to take up the position. And due to the, I think time is approaching 8:50, I would like to leave more time for question and answer, so I thought we can actually go straight to the Q&A rather than having a panel discussion. All right, so who would like to go first? Any questions for the speaker or panelist? Yes, can we pass the mic? Right over here, gentleman over here. On the mic.
Hello, I'm Joe from MBS PMBA program. My question is to Prof. Vijay. So, right, I know today is not the occasion to really celebrate the death of offline shopping or stuff. And I'm a big fan of FairPrice actually. So my question is about FairPrice. So if you have one piece of the advice to FairPrice, what it would be?
That's easy. On this particular panel, I'll say join Shopback, join Lazada. Good answer, right? We discuss a more serious answer later.
Good. Second question over here.
Sorry, I have to add on that FairPrice is
oh.
actually on Shopback, so you can earn cash back on FairPrice if you come on.
There you go.
No need referral bonus anymore, right?
Yeah, so my name is Selvaraj. So I'm started online selling in Amazon US, and I'm thinking to extend to Lazada, but I can see a lot of differences between Amazon and Lazada. Amazon is a lot of software available to find the product, and there's a systematic approach. But Lazada, we don't have anything to identify which product I should enter, which niche I have to find. So is there anything Lazada is working on that one?
If on the mic.
Hello. Yeah. So your question is about what are the software and the tools that sellers can use, right? Yeah, I think so for us, we have got a lot of tools that we have from our Alibaba tech stack. So in fact, just within the seller portal, you are able to see what is the best-selling product. You know, you can see where your ranking is with all the other competitors, as well as all the different traffic data, product sales data. So we do have a very full suite of products and tools to help customers sell. In fact, whenever, and for example, let's say you do online, right? You do past midnight, you can still continue to sell. And if you want to throw in a voucher, you want to run a campaign on your own, make changes to your price, anything works. And I think from there, you can really even tell the system what product to really boost it in terms of the algorithm to show more visibility to customers. So I think with that, there's a lot of tools that are available. So I mean, after that, after this session, we can have a quick chat. I can explain more to you.
Okay, right over there.
Hi, my name is William Teo. I don't like to shop online because I lack the confidence and I feel to a certain degree that I've been cheated. Because when I look at the flyer, it shows a Singapore flag and $50. So my interpretation is that it costs $50. But when I enter everything in, it is in US dollars. And on top of that, they charge me an arm and a leg on the shipping charges. So that drove me away. Until this week, or rather, last week, I do not know how did I get into Lazada. Okay? And I fell in love with it. And in a week, I entered 4 orders. Wow. And tonight, I was planning to bring a bottle of champagne for the CEO that Lazada has done so well. Item 1, item 2, they were delivered in very good time, and the prices for the 2 items I ordered were much cheaper than what I would pay at the department stores. All right. Item 3 was a disaster. It was delivered today by someone who looks more like a gangster at the door, and he don't even address me, and he don't even tell me what that item that he was delivering was for me. So I refused to entertain him, and he went back. And sad enough, just now I received a confirmation that the item was delivered. I did not sign for it. So Ryan, take a look. You have a good system, you have a good business, but your third-party service provider may ruin your business. Do be careful on that. And that statement was made by Professor just now. All right, third party may not give you the level of support, the level of customer service that you expect. And you should take up what I have encountered today All right? I'm glad I canceled the bottle of champagne. Okay? Thank you.
If he's any smart, he'll send you the bottle of champagne.
Ryan, want to respond? A quick one?
Yeah, I think thanks for the feedback. I think for us, we take our customer feedback very seriously. And I would say that's what we are trying to work on at the moment. So I believe some of you guys might have the same experience with Lazada. But I think as the business scale, we also need to continuously do serious checks with our partners, especially the ecosystem. So one thing that is different with all the other countries is that we have our own fleet and we can have full control. In fact, with RedMart channel, we also have our delivery drivers and we really audit and assess them all the time. I think Singapore, for all you guys who are business owners, you all know that cost of business is high. Hence, we have, and also in terms of how the local infrastructure is, we have to depend on third party. But I do get your feedback, and I promise you I will send the champagne to you. After this, let's have a quick chat. I want to know what order number and what happened so that we can give the proper feedback. Thanks.
Ryan, I have a complaint too. Can I get a bottle of champagne?
Okay, so how many bottles of champagne do I need?
Go ahead, Josephine. Imagine you bought the first two items from Shopback, you have gotten some cashback already. Any questions? Okay.
Good evening, this is Bhaskar here. I have a question for Professor Sethi. Professor, my question is, there are companies like Dollar Shave, for example, undercutting competition with dollar item or something like that. How do they make money in the long term? I mean, do they make profits at all, or do they just hope to be bought out at some time? What's the long-term game plan, basically?
I think if I answer it slightly differently, because many of them do get bought out, there obviously is a potential there. But I think what they're addressing is an inefficiency somewhere in the industry. And once you do, there's a value associated with it. Yeah, then the next issue is then how do you continue that particular trajectory? If I complete the story about the Dollar Shave Club, this particular guy, Dollar Shave Club, was bought over by Unilever, which is the biggest competitor to P&G, which owns Gillette. There's a recent interview by the guy. He says, when I owned Dollar Shave Club, things were simple. Being a part of a large company, things have become really complicated. And what are these guys trying to do now? What was his original vision? He'd like to do to the entire men's cosmetic industry what he did to the razor industry. But it's hard to do in a slightly bigger context that he has here. But the point is, look, these are inefficiencies. Did we like the way we bought the razor and the blades originally? If we liked it, there was no business model here. So he looked at it, has a different value proposition. I think that's the part which larger companies, or whatever the game plan is, to address the inefficiency and then make sure that it works to the consumer's benefit. Game plan, the longer one, well, that's a difference. It's very hard to tell. Very hard to tell. Most of them get bought out. And, so, Josephine, that'll happen to you too.
Maybe I can address. So, sorry to jump in, but being part of two businesses with two very different, end game in mind, it's quite interesting that you asked that, because recently I was actually part of a panel that addresses disruption versus innovation. I thought it was a very silly topic because, to be honest, they are sort of like overlapping. But very honestly, what Prof. Vijay said was exactly true. There must always be some sort of value for your product to make sense in the end of the day. Very similarly to how Lazada was trying to solve the problem of, e-commerce not even existing in this world, giving people jobs, to Shopback trying to help businesses market more efficiently. There must be always a market fit for your product. However, there are always two ways for businesses to run. One is, like as you said, spend loads, grow fast, and then exit fast. The other way of doing it is take a slower route, but go for the sustainable route. So I think it very much depends on what that business is trying to achieve. And the more disruptive you are to big businesses, the more likely you're going to take the first route where you're going to spend loads and then grow fast and then exit fast. But if you fail, you also fail fast and fail really, really hard. So it's really about how much value your product can bring. Yep, I hope that answers too.
Thank you, Josephine. questions? Okay, for here.
My name is Dr. Ram. My question is regarding the governance, because regionally many government are doing different for protecting the local business people. Now it is getting global, like Amazon and other people are coming to play with that. In order to protect the customer centric, because the competition is very heavy, and they are providing a lot of incentives as a shop back also come to play something to give the value back to the consumers. So how do we able to sustain in future if it is the scenario? How much other customer also just now complained about the delivery is not so good. So what about the government strategies in order to address these problems and how to solve these issues?
To protect customers' interest, any taker? Maybe Prof? Or Ryan first?
I think in terms of how e-commerce is growing, governments are aware. And I think it's something that's inevitable. I agree with Josephine that it's not going to take over the world. Offline retail is going to be there, but governments are aware. And in fact, they are working with companies like us to really, to really come up with proper governance standards within this space. And in fact, in Thailand, in Vietnam, our company do work very closely with the government to ensure that, at the end of the day, we are benefiting the local workforce, the local consumers, and the businesses. So I think it's about working together, collaborate, and really understand what is required in this space. We have mutual conversations to really ensure that we don't disrupt we don't disrupt, not so much we have to be more constructive. Yeah, essentially that.
Maybe I can add on to that based upon some of the things they said, because you have to remember they have a marketplace model. That provides that particular reach. Otherwise, the business ain't going to be going anywhere yourself. You're going to be always limited. The marketplace model, as one of the central feature core tenets of many of these particular platforms, allow you to take advantage of this back end, the technology, the logistics, and you can send it to anywhere that you want it to. That's a path to growing that particular business. So in that sense, it's not just the local businesses who are going to be facing that competition. They can leverage these particular platforms in many different ways. So you have that particular feature.
I guess another point is personal data protection. I mean, how can this be addressed when people buying things online and all the very personal information got imagine you actually know more than my mom knows about me. So there's a lot of private information.
Okay, so I think with the whole looming issues that the US big companies are facing with data security, I think even, like for example, just now, essentially why it took me so long to actually set up things is that because we have a very strong data security policy that doesn't allow me to really transfer data here and there so easily. So I think likewise, this policy is really flowing through the entire company's culture. And in terms of how we actually share and handle this data, we really prioritize that as top of one of the key policies. So in terms of how accessible this data is really limited to the must know and need to know. So we continuously have a very strong team of data security people, even working with the Alibaba side, to really ensure that this data will not be compromised.
Okay. Over here?
Yeah,
Thanks.
I have a question. First of all, thanks to all the speakers for giving us all the perspectives that we have heard tonight. I actually work in a wholesale company, and my question has to do with if, let's say, if I want to set up a business, if I want to go into retail in particular, all right, does it make more sense, given today's landscape, to set up a bricks and mortar retail store and jazz it up with a lot of technology like what Target and Amazon have done? Or does it make more sense for me as an entrepreneur to set up an online store, maybe sell on Lazada, maybe work with Shopback and so on? And so from the perspective of a would-be entrepreneur, which model would be easier to succeed at? Which model would allow me to make more money? So that's the first question. And related to that is the question of margins. I think in the traditional bricks and mortar business, maybe a ballpark retail margin could be 40 to 50%. 20% could be 10 to 20% could go to your rental. Maybe 10% could go to your labor, and then the rest could go to your profit, right? So if you go online, you don't need to pay rental, but then you have to pay for logistics. So that could be 10%. If I go to Lazada or Redmart, maybe they take a commission of maybe 30% or 20%, you know. And so the question is, how do the margins game play out? And, you know, I wonder if any of the speakers have any insights on that. You know, so margins, profitability, and what would make better sense for a small business?
Josephine, want to give it a shot first?
Sure. Let me think. I mean, to be very honest, right? Businesses are very different. It really depends on what you're trying to sell and what that product is in the first place. Obviously, if you're trying to sell, I don't know, like something very specific, like abalone online, or I think, okay, this is an interesting one. So one of my ex-classmates wanted to sell sanitary pads. Okay, I'll just give you a case study because honestly, the two decisions of going online and offline are really completely different, and their costings are completely different. The considerations you need to have are also completely different, which I guess maybe later we can take it offline. But I'll just use my friend's business as an example. His idea was brilliant, right? He knew that females needed sanitary pads every month, and he knew that very similar to the Gillette model, it's like men, right? They need to shave. They need to buy sanitary pads every single month. So his idea was to come up with an e-commerce site that allows you to buy sanitary pads on subscription model. So every month, around the third week or whatever you indicate, you will receive X number of pads. And then it will roll on to the next month and so on. So like theoretically, it makes sense because that's how the human body works. But what he didn't take into account, right, was that yes, that's how the human body works theoretically, but it actually changes sometimes. If it's 2 weeks late, then you're receiving the things too early, or you're receiving your pads a little bit too late. Then it doesn't make sense to a female anymore. So the business model really is huge in terms of what you're trying to sell. And that obviously, unfortunately, failed for him because he didn't foresee that his theory was a little bit off, that's one. And two, more importantly, is that you must remember what is extremely costly online is actually, contrary to popular belief, marketing. It's super easy to come out with a website. Super easy. I can just go on Blogspot or like, okay, homestate.com doesn't exist anymore, but you can just go and buy a domain and get a coder and code up the site. It's not expensive. But driving traffic to your website is really expensive. And the fastest way to do that is to onboard yourself with someone like Lazada. You're welcome. Or if you have your own website, use marketing services that are a little bit more cost effective, like Shopback. Soft sell. No, but it's true. That's how I would think about it. Whereas offline, you have a lot of a totally different sets of problems. And I'm starting to realize that because I've always been in an online business, but recently we started doing F&B as well, paying people to shop offline. And doing offline activations, you have to think about things like resources, part-timers, the churn. And that is the thing that takes up most of your time. So I really think it depends on the product that you're trying to sell. Yeah.
Ryan,
Can I just add that Lazada is not charging commissions to to sellers? Okay, I think just on a serious note, I mean that's serious, but on a more serious note, it really has to deal with three things: your investment of time, your investment of money, and what ultimately do you want to sell in terms of product type. So I would really resonate with her points, and essentially for online, it seems cheap, it seems fast, but to really target the right customer is difficult. Because at the end, offline, you get people who are interested in your stuff coming into your store. But right now, you're trying to reach out to the entire Singapore population, trying to reach out to them on e-commerce, on social media, on IG, trying to tell them that, hey, you need this, come. And every single cent you spend might be wasted because they're not the right person. So I think there is pros and cons, and it really brings down to how much are you willing to invest, how much time are you willing to spend, and really what are you going to sell.
Just put the same thing slightly differently. Look, if you go online, you will get commoditized. Simple. If you sell what everybody else is going to be selling, it's going to be very, very hard. You might as well do it online, you will get commoditized. If you're selling something unique, then decide, where's your market? If you want that particular reach, you go online. Otherwise, if you don't, if you're selling something unique, you have a lot of bargaining power and leverage. Then you can decide on that.
I think Ron is right. Time is running out, but can I request that we take a couple more questions, if you don't mind?
Or maybe observations. This is
Yeah.
too formal. I mean, things that you guys believe, you don't ask us questions. We can also sit down here. The things that you have experienced or whatever, your observations.
Oh, okay. Maybe the lady first. I want to hear from the lady.
Thanks. Good evening, everyone. Okay, my name is Kathy. I just want to ask about two questions. One question is about, addressing for tonight the looming battle in the e-commerce. As I can see, Nazada actually has done a lot of this R&D, not only in the e-commerce, not simply e-commerce. It's a lot of the digitalization and also point-to-point targeting marketing. Okay, this is another event for for the e-commerce lah. But for this, you think about now is a looming battle, right? How to define as a looming battle? Because like say Nazada was starting 2012, until now it's only 6 years. Okay, as in the business actually it's quite young baby lah. Okay, even the Alibaba have been gone through like 20 over years to to have the market like now. So I don't know. Okay, as a as a learning journey. So how to look at the Southeast Asian market in the next 5 to 10 years? How will be changes? Because as a market now, there's Lazada, Qtong, and this and that. There are also many more coming out, right? So it definitely, like Josephine says, we're not taking the whole retail. This is just kind of lifestyle. But I'm wondering. When it comes to the investment return, like just now the gentleman was mentioned, because a lot of going for the research. Okay, I heard some of the people who are specialized in the retail, because in Singapore market and Southeast Asian market, it's not like a China market that booming very fast. Okay, because especially at the beginning, first 3 years very slow. Okay, then going very fast. They say when capture the users, just now Josephine shows that the Shopback have 8 million users, right? There are statistics says you're catching each of the users, which, let's say download apps, the cost about $25 per user in Singapore. Is that true? And also, is that also similar to the Southeast Asian market? Okay, this is one question, actually to know how the market trends and then how does the market spending are. Okay, and then also another question is also, would say, towards to, just now the gentleman mentioned for the market, what is the governance, the PDPA, this or that. I would like to more concern about the environment concerns. I don't know how many people have saw, how the Alibaba, all those even, there are so many online, the China, those kind of businesses really, it's just like a hurricane to cross the whole countries. Okay, then there are also a lot of, the packagings and this and that. Will we, Singapore or other Lazada or other the e-commerce, this kind of companies, we're concerned about that? How your company doing this part to protect the earth, okay, or together work with the governance, because that is really disaster. We are living in a small world. I believe in Singapore, each of us, because we have a special laws to protect Earth and that, I would say, as a leading company in this region, what your company have strategized to do so?
Okay, so 2 questions. One is that the e-commerce prospect in this part of the world. Secondly, what role can you guys play to help protect our environment? Yeah.
Okay, so I think the answers are quite clear. So first thing, to the first question, okay, make a guess how big is e-commerce in China? How many % of retail? Okay, so I think a few years ago we were about at 40%, and now it has slowly moved back to 35 and closing into 30. What does this show? So in China, it is so developed, we are seeing a drawback, and that is because really retail, e-commerce cannot take over the world, and it's not the only solution to shopping and purchasing. So right now, what you see in China probably will happen in about 5 to 8 years' time, where all the Southeast Asian markets become more developed, and that's where we will really marry both online and offline together. Okay, so that's the first point. On the second point, I think what we are doing right now is also to be more commercially to really be more environmentally friendly. So I understand about how the packagings are really they're not good for the environment. But I think, for example, right now what we are doing with data is really to have a very clear forecast of what people are buying. So for instance, in our RedMart business, what we do is that we know how people transact. How frequent do they replenish their products? So imagine fresh food. How long can it last? Probably 1-2 weeks, right? So with data, we really make very clear predictions of how much to buy, how much people will buy, how much we ship each week, and that reduces wastage quite a bit. So we are better compared to the offline supermarkets when it comes to managing demand and also reducing wastages in this case. So of course, in the more general merchandise business, like buying products, there will still be the packaging that is being thrown away after one use. But there we are also trying to really find ways to really cut down on all these packaging materials. But I think RedMart is a very good first step that we are making, really, to make sure that we are also environmentally friendly and being responsible to the environment.
Josephine, anything to add?
Actually, you answered most of it. Maybe the second part on sustainability. As a business that doesn't ship anything out, is a little bit tougher for us to actually affect anything. But what I think as an online business we do really well is we consolidate information from our customers a lot. It's every day. And I can tell you an example of how aggressive our customer service team is. There was one day, it was earlier in the year, that I think one of our agents actually got a call. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I heard her say something along the lines of, oh, okay, so it's pepperoni pizza, regular size. Okay, got it. And she was actually ordering this person's pizza for her. And the funny thing was, the lady on the phone was actually giving her credit card number over to our customer service agent. It's very dangerous, right? Like, if our agent does not have high integrity, which luckily she does, she could have just used that card and just bought something else for her. But what she did in turn was she was like, okay, stop telling me this, and I'll just tell you where exactly to enter it instead of me buying it for you, completely different. So very similar to how we consolidate customer feedback. We get a lot of feedback in terms of sustainability as well. Actually, you're not the first person that asked this question. We've gotten several customers, especially in countries like Australia, who are a little bit more particular about protecting the earth, trying to understand and trying to get us to talk more about earth sustainability as well. And it will be quite interesting. I think next 3 months, you would see us do very small initiatives that are actually earth-friendly. Thanks for bringing that up.
Sorry, myself actually was a very frequent online buyer. Actually, I think accumulated about 14, 15 years. It started with Alibaba a very long time ago. But the more I buy, the more I feel guilty, you know. You really, you know, after end of, you know, I tear off everything. The whole house is all those kind of rubbish, and those kind of rubbish, it's not just papers. That's why I bring out. Of course, for the shipping matters or whichever, it is a concern. You have to, you know, make it secure. Otherwise, people get complaint for that. But this is just like, you know, I mean, at least I believe should be. I don't know how your company doing so. But for my first question just now, there's no one answer. Okay, for Singapore and the Southeast Asia market, how much to capture per user? Let's say for the startup company, let's say first 3 years, how difficult? Right now, there are so many, you know, this kind of people are doing this business. They're also trying their best to capture it, and then how the market reacts, you know. Because you guys are leading, you know, this kind of answer can help those startups to do better.
I guess I can jump in first. So my answer is going to be super PC because it depends on what your product is. And at the end of the day, your customer acquisition cost, as what we showed here, was actually from one of the brands itself.
Sorry, not what you sell. I'm talking about the like Lazada or Shopback. Yep. You capture the user. Capture the user, the person who download your apps from online, how much the marketing costs?
Yes, that's what I mean. So it depends on what you're trying to sell. So back in the days when I was in an e-commerce selling clothes, the customer acquisition cost would very, very definitely be very different from what we are selling right now, which is a service and incentive. It's completely different, and it really depends on the product that you're selling. But that's why I mentioned there were two different types of marketing channels that you should definitely consider, because they all come with different objectives, right? Something like a Facebook and Google is fantastic at helping you drive brand awareness and engagement. Whether or not that's going to help you acquire a customer is very difficult to tell without a proper attribution model. Because someone could actually go through a Facebook ad and then signs up but doesn't buy, and then receives an email from you and then forgets about it again, but the next day they get retargeted on Google with that, what do you call that shoe, your corona following you, retargeting. So it really depends on what you're trying to sell and what channels you're utilizing. There are also other channels, again, I'm not trying to soft sell, but it's true. It's per commission models, like what we do, and we only charge when there is a successful transaction, and that percentage is actually determined by our partners themselves.
Sorry, maybe too far. I'm talking about the platform.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. No, it's okay.
You
okay,
can talk. Be gentle. If you think about this.
No, I think it's okay. Maybe Prof. Sethi can just wrap up, and then if any other question, you can take it offline. How about that?
I think maybe there are many parts you're talking about the Singapore trend. The only thing I had to say about the first part is, look, the control is up to you now. You decide whether you want the packaging, you don't want the packaging. These guys will work with the brands. So we have a lot more control now as far as sustainability than we had ever previously. So, other issues about where it's happening in Singapore, etc., maybe these guys can talk to you later. They're going to be here, and maybe they can shed more light on that particular one.
Yeah.
Maybe we call it a...
Yeah, I think it's getting late. Yeah. So if you still have any other burning questions, I'm sure you can stay back for a couple of minutes to share with the speakers and panelists. If not, thank you very much for coming, and wish you a very happy weekend.